Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. The Warriors are not standing still and are looking to make upgrades and bring in big players, and two high-level players are of interest to the Warriors. Herb Jones and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are on the Lakers' radar. The Warriors will be looking for help around Stephen Curry this offseason, and Herb Jones and Nickeil Alexander-Walker could be two targets. The Golden State Warriors saw their championship push stopped by something completely out of control in 2025, as they quickly bowed out in the second round of the playoffs against the Minnesota Timberwolves after Stephen Curry went down with a hamstring injury in Game 1. However, the Warriors proved after the trade deadline that they can still compete for a title with Curry and Jimmy Butler leading the way. Golden State was one of the best teams in the Western Conference from the All-Star break to the end of the regular season, and now they are looking at making another run next season. In order to become a true contender and have the depth to sustain the gauntlet of the regular season in the West, Golden State still needs to add some more pieces in free agency. New Orleans Pelicans wing Herb Jones and Timberwolves guard Nickeil Alexander-Walker are two names that Golden State could be looking at this offseason, according to Brett Siegel of Clutch Points. While Golden State's offense will always be difficult to defend as long as Curry is in the lineup, they need to improve defensively on the perimeter this offseason. Adding an elite defender like Jones or a versatile player like Alexander-Walker would be just what the Warriors need to improve. Getting Jones in the building will be much more difficult than Alexander-Walker, but the Warriors can still try to make a run at either one. Jones would have to be added via trade, and the Pelicans will be trying to win as many games as possible after trading their first-round pick away next season in the NBA draft. Therefore, the asking price for a young player of Jones' caliber will be very high. Alexander-Walker has proven himself to be one of the top two-way role players in the league and should have a lot of suitors in free agency this offseason as a result. He can guard great perimeter scorers on the outside and also be a secondary creator and a solid spot-up shooter offensively, which will allow him to fit in with just about any team. In order to get Alexander-Walker, the Warriors will have to win what will likely be a very crowded battle for him on the open market. However, if they can, that will make them a force in the Western Conference. Golden State Warriors reveal trade strategies as Stephen Curry and Draymond Green window begins to close. The Golden State Warriors have a very clear and narrow title window built around Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler, but they might be unwilling to commit to that core. The Golden State Warriors, as long as Stephen Curry is playing at a high level, can at least be in the running for the NBA championship. After falling short in the second round this season, the Warriors are hoping that a full offseason with Jimmy Butler in town will bolster their title hopes. With Butler, Curry, and Draymond Green all on the wrong side of 35 years old, the Warriors have a very limited window, but they seem unwilling to part with key assets to maximize their present. The Warriors can trade their first-round draft picks in 2027, 2028, 2029, 2031, and 2032, and they can make a swap with their 2026 selection, although with their core aging, Golden State seems uninterested in mortgaging its future. Warriors know the value of their draft picks. In every realistic scenario, Curry, Green, and Butler have 2 seasons left in their primes, and after that, the Dubs will need to rebuild. After winning 4 titles, it's safe to say that the Warriors' run was a success, although a long reconstruction will come sooner rather than later. With losing seasons on the horizon, the Warriors are not eager to part with their future draft picks, which could very easily be near the top of the draft, allowing them to find a new franchise player. "We're probably more protective of them than most teams," General Manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. told Tim Kawakami of the Warriors' draft picks ago. "Because not knowing after a few years what our roster is, the uncertainty of that, of putting those picks out in the future, which, on the market, makes them more valuable, but for us they're a little bit more dangerous, so we got to walk that line." While the Warriors know that their picks will be incredibly valuable, other teams also know that dealing for the Dubs picks could be more fruitful than trading for draft capital with a team on the rise, like the San Antonio Spurs or Houston Rockets. Warriors need to stay healthy. Since Kevin Durant left for the Brooklyn Nets, the Warriors have tried to assemble a winning cast around Curry, culminating in a fourth title in 2022. However, Andrew Wiggins never played that well again, and the Warriors clearly needed a legitimate star to pair with Curry. Enter Jimmy Butler. Between the playoffs and the regular season, the Warriors went 23-7 with Butler in the lineup, although Curry got hurt in the postseason, ending their bid. With a healthy Butler, Curry, and Green, the Warriors should be able to compete for the finals, even in the crowded West. However, with all three of them aging, staying healthy is far from a guarantee. If the Warriors remain healthy, there is no reason for them to make a trade. If injuries pile up, a trade won't be enough to save them, so Dunleavy being hesitant to move on from his draft picks makes perfect sense. Warriors' chance to reunite with former guard just got real after Lonzo Ball trade. He's been listed as a free agency fit. The Golden State Warriors were caught sleeping and missing out on Lonzo Ball as an off-season trade target, with the former second overall pick heading to the Cleveland Cavaliers on Saturday in a deal that lands the Chicago Bulls' young wing Isaac Okoro. But even though they missed out on Ball, the trade could still wind up working in the Warriors' favor if they are to show interest in reuniting with a former guard entering free agency. The Warriors could be a fit for Cavs guard Ty Jerome. Ball's arrival in Cleveland almost certainly spells the end for Ty Jerome, with the trade signaling the wide-held assumption that the Cavaliers won't be able to retain the 27-year-old after a breakout season. NBA insider Jake Fisher of the Stein Line reported on Saturday that the move to acquire Ball is a signal that Cleveland anticipates losing Ty Jerome in free agency. While there's been no strong reporting of Golden State being interested in a Jerome reunion, ESPN front office insider Bobby Marks did list the 6 feet 5 inches guard as a fit for the franchise in his free agency previous. It would make some sense given the Warriors don't particularly have a backup point guard to Stephen Curry right now, having spent the last few months of the season essentially letting Jimmy Butler run the second unit as a point forward. Getting another ball handler who can create and shoot efficiently from distance would be very useful, with Jerome coming off a year where he finished third and sixth man of the year and averaged 12.5 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 3.4 assists on 51.6% shooting from the floor and an incredibly impressive 43.9% from three-point range. Fisher does note that Jerome is said to be seeking a deal that starts at the full mid-level exception, $14.1 million. That's likely to price him outside Golden State's price range, but it could be possible depending on what the franchise does with restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga. Jerome is seen as the one that got away for the Warriors, having played 1 year in the Bay on a two-way contract in 2022-23. He made an impact in averaging 18.1 minutes across 45 games for the franchise, averaging 6.9 points, 1.7 rebounds, and 3.0 assists on 48.8% shooting from the floor and 38.9% from three-point range. Golden State did tender a qualifying offer to Jerome in the 2023 offseason, but they chose not to match Cleveland's 2-year, $5 million contract in a decision they could now look to reverse in free agency 2 years on. Warriors' Jonathan Kuminga gets $30 million per year contract update amid trade rumors. The Golden State Warriors' future with Jonathan Kuminga is still to be determined. But it sounds like whoever ends up with Kuminga in free agency or via a sign-and-trade might have to pony up the big bucks. NBA insider Brett Siegel reports that Kuminga wants a deal that pays him $30 million per year. In truth, Kuminga might be left wanting if he holds too firm to that stance. His production so far in the NBA doesn't warrant that kind of payday. Kuminga is banking on a team believing in his potential. He did show that he can fill it up during the playoffs when Jimmy Butler and then Stephen Curry were out injured. It's a high-risk, high-reward situation. Kuminga is worth someone taking a chance on. But is he worth taking a chance on for 4 years and $120 million? That's not really a chance. That's hoping for a sure thing. And for all his talents, Kuminga isn't a sure thing. This seems like it could wind up as a poor decision for someone. But Kuminga could always reach his full potential and make a deal like this fully worth it. LeBron just cracked the door open for a shocking Warriors trade. LeBron James just hinted at a potential trade request away from the Los Angeles Lakers, which could open the door for the Golden State Warriors. 2025. Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James and his agent, Rich Paul, put out a statement that sounds like they may consider requesting a trade at some point soon, and if that reality comes true, the Golden State Warriors would be a perfect landing spot. It would finally open up the window for a dream team-up of James and Stephen Curry. LeBron wants to compete for a championship, Paul told Shams Charania of ESPN. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance of winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie, Bus, and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers as a critical part of his career. We understand the difficulty in winning now while preparing for the future. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage in his life and career. He wants to make every season he has left count, and the Lakers understand that, are supportive and want what's best for him. The two megastars competed against each other in the NBA Finals for years, and fans finally got a sneak peek at what the duo could look like during the 2024 Olympics, where the pair won a gold medal together in Paris. If James ends up actually requesting a trade, the Warriors could be drooling at the chance to bring him on board. How could Warriors trade for LeBron James? At face value, it would be difficult for the Warriors to make a James trade happen, despite the fact that they won't have a ton of players on their books heading into the offseason. Unfortunately for his friendship with James, Draymond Green would almost certainly have to be in the trade. From a purely financially oriented perspective, a package of Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, and Moses Moody would get the Warriors to James' salary in a trade. However, the Lakers would absolutely require more in a deal if they end up trading their franchise centerpiece, or one of them. At that point, a trade would completely depend on how much leverage James takes away from the Lakers. Does he blatantly request a trade? Does he tell the Lakers that he wants to play with Curry? Does he say nothing and leave the Warriors to bid as much as possible? All of those questions would have to be answered before negotiations begin, as they would all have a direct impact on the price Golden State would have to pay to bring James on board and pair him with Curry. Are the Lakers actually going to trade LeBron James? Probably not. For as much as James and Paul's statement sounds like he could be gearing up to request a trade, the reality is that he's probably just trying to push the Lakers to make additional moves. He wants them to make trades and add players who can help him and Luka Doncic compete for titles right away, and by threatening to request a trade, he could force the Lakers' hands into making said deals.